Hey everybody, PKFT1 here, and I am here once again with Blur.
Hi.
So today we're gonna discuss the elephant in the room. Um, Maybe you haven't heard of this. If you're on Twitter, you probably have. If not, you may have not heard of this quite yet unless you follow certain people. But Atlus officially tweeted today talking about the Persona Super Live concert, P Wish or whatever it is, um, and announced that there will not be any game announcements at the concert. Which, if you've been following Atlus for the past few years, you know that typically these concerts are their big blowouts when it comes to new information. I think in like 2013 they did like four game announcements between, I think it was like Persona 4 Arena, Ultimax, Persona 4 Dancing, Persona Q, and I think at the end of that night they also announced Persona 5 like with a teaser. Then they followed that up with whatever, I can't even remember. And then eventually they had like the P3D and P4D, or sorry, P5D announcements. Then I think the last time in 2019 was when they announced Royal and Strikers in the same night. So, needless to say, a lot of people are confused and or disappointed, especially since this is the 25th anniversary. And so far the only things in terms of games that we've gotten announced have been ports of games that have already existed. And while we are very appreciative of these ports, as we should be, because it does take a lot of effort, I think people were expecting at least one new announcement at the end of this thing. And we assumed it was going to be the concert. The concert is in October. However, there is a slot still on their Persona 25th anniversary schedule for autumn 2022, indicating that there should still be some sort of announcement. But basing it on the announcements previous, it's hard to like imagine that this one will be any different than the rest, right?
Yeah, I mean, unless they really are saving something that no one's aware of.
Yeah. Now, I wanted to ask you, Blur, do you really think that they could announce something outside of the concert? Or do you think that because we are not getting an announcement at the concert, we're probably not hearing about whatever their next project is until at least next year?
It's so hard to say with Atlus. I mean, the concert, I mean, that's what they've done for years, to my knowledge. I don't know when it started where they did announcements. I don't know if it's because now they have a bigger audience if they want to announce something, or if Sega asked them to do something since Atlus is owned by Sega.
Mm-hmm.
Like, hey, do an announcement either on your own or do it at some other event.
Well, now that you say it, that's actually an interesting thought because now that I'm thinking about it, there's been a okay. Imagine if you will that instead of it being announced at the concert, let's say it's announced at either the Game Awards or say um like a Sony showcase, which there's been rumors, or a PlayStation showcase. Rumors that maybe that'll happen somewhere down the line of like their big showcase, not a state of play, but an actual showcase. Um, there is an interesting thing that happened recently with the most recent state of play, which was that Tekken 8 was announced in the Sony state of play. Um, but most people were really expecting like the real like trailer to be at Evo, which is the big fighting game event, right? However, it sounds like a lot of the higher ups, and maybe because there was a PlayStation deal in place or something, considering Evo and PlayStation are now interconnected, maybe they wanted to announce Tekken 8. Well, it sounds like they wanted to announce Tekken 8 for a much larger group of people, because if you show it in a state of play, that's going to get a lot more eyes than say if it was just at Evo. while Evo is a more concentrated like amount of fighting game fans, and people are going to be the hardest core when it comes to Tekken fans, having it at a bigger event in terms of eyeballs is a better call marketing wise. Now, here's the thing with Persona, if it got announced at a concert, you're going to hear about that regardless, like the next day.
Yeah, you would hear about it, but I think if they wanted like more of an audience reaction, I guess.
Yeah, I'm thinking that that's a possibility where maybe, like you said, the higher ups at Sega, the franchise has become much bigger since even just when Royal and Strikers were announced. That maybe it's at a point where they think, okay, let's try something new. Let's try doing this at a different venue than the concert. Because again, we have to keep in mind that while they said that there aren't going to be any announcements at the concert, they didn't necessarily say there aren't going to be any new game announcements, period. Now, say what you will, I get it. We're just sitting here hoping and praying that maybe there's still something on the way.
I
And
mean,
there's
I'm definitely more doubtful now, but it does seem very odd. Like, I'm not saying I'm expecting a mainline game reveal. I think, I mean, they did do Royal, and that was like in 2020, right?
Yeah, I can't remember if that was a worldwide release or I think it was just a. I think that was at
No,
least in the
it
West.
came out in it came out on Halloween in Japan, and then we had to wait a while
That's right. So it's
before we got
been,
it.
yeah, so it's been a little bit. But
And I know
yeah,
Sega said that they are shooting for worldwide releases on a lot of their games now, and that includes Persona. So that means we will be waiting longer because they have to do the translations.
yeah, and that's true. Development time, or at least development time to like release, is longer for everybody due to the translations having to be done. Um, Another thing to note is that it seems that Atlus has been at least attempting, if I'm going off of the last two releases, with SMT5 and Soul Hackers 2. SMT5, of course, was announced back in. I don't even remember when the original announcement for it was. I know they at least announced in 2017 that SMT5 would be coming to the Switch or whatever the next Shin Megami Tensei entry would be. Then it had some sort of little reveal later, and then eventually it went silent forever until we finally saw it in, I think, 2020. Maybe about a year, maybe a little more than a year before release. So I think that the period between announcement and release, I think they're trying to shorten that, kind of like the Nintendo style, because Soul Hackers got announced in February, released in August, which was a pretty quick turnaround from announcement to release. Assuming that's something that they want to do, then maybe you're right. Maybe that's something we need to keep in mind, and that if we don't get an announcement, maybe it's because it's just not ready to be shown or they feel it's too early. I don't know. I just can't help but feel after this whole 25th anniversary, particularly for the West, it feels like it's been building up to something, and every time there would be like a new bit of information, because they stretched it over an entire year, it was almost always disappointing, except for the times when, of course, they announced like games, which I think last year, I didn't even think about this, at the Game Awards is when they announced Persona 5 Arena Ultimax coming to consoles. So I guess it isn't out of the question for Persona to collaborate with the Game Awards, huh?
I mean, the Game Awards also like, and also Sega for like even like Gamescom. I mean, it wasn't at their live stream thing they're showing, but like Sonic Frontiers had like a thing there.
As in a trailer, or
I don't think it was like in a trailer, but they had like I think they had like stations where people could play them. I think because that was like back in June.
Oh yeah, yeah. Um, I
But
think
they also I think wasn't it like last Game Awards they showed the first Sonic Movie 2 trailer?
yeah they did. I think it. Yeah, I think it was last year, and yeah, like you said, they showed Frontiers. They announced the Persona
So
stuff.
I mean, I don't know how much say Sega has on like when Atlus has to announce stuff, but I assume they have some.
Yeah, as the publisher, I would think they have to have something for sure.
So if they wanted them to be like, here, we want you to do it here, and then they'd be like, oh, okay.
Yeah, I don't know. It's hard to say because again, there could just be nothing. That's just as
Yeah,
much
I
of
mean
a
that's
possibility.
also true. They have no, they could have absolutely nothing to show. Like whatever they're working on is probably not in a state that's ready to show.
Yeah, again, that's a highly likely possibility. I think a lot of us don't want to really like consider it, but I mean, what's more Atlus than Atlus building up a huge 25th anniversary celebration for it all to just be re-releases of old games and nothing actually new to come out of it, and set everybody up like, oh, get ready for this last announcement because if okay, here's my question.
I mean, they might do a teaser image. I mean, like they did for Persona
Yeah,
5, where it's like the chairs, and then we had to, I don't know, somehow remain hyped on that for a year.
but let's say that the ports themselves, right? Let's say the P5R, P3P, and P4G ports were like the big thing, which again is admirable. That's not necessarily like
Oh no, that's like
a
that
bad way
needed, like
to
we were talking about this earlier. That needed to be done.
right. And
Those
everybody
games
who
were
hasn't been
only
able to play
available
them,
on like really old consoles, so bringing them to modern consoles is definitely a cool thing. And
yeah,
it brings more fans, it brings more people to be able to play and enjoy these old games.
right. And I don't want to take away from that, but if those were the big announcement for the 25th anniversary, I guess you could include P4 AU with that too. But if those were the big announcements, why did you not save them for? Or sorry, I should rephrase it. Instead of saying why didn't you save them for autumn, why would you specifically put an autumn announcement at the very end after E3 and stuff where you revealed all this stuff? Like, why would you save one more slot if that was the big one? Because if it's just going to be followed up by just merchandise and maybe a little thank you, I don't know. That just feels really weird to me. I don't know. What do you think? Do you think that there's a reason why they would put one more announcement after the ports if those are like the only games we're getting?
That is kind of that is odd to me because I don't know, maybe just I don't know how their marketing works, but I guess I just assume, and I think a lot of people assumed, is that it's like, oh, we're gonna end the event on our biggest, announcement, our biggest reveal. And if it's just like, here's more merchandise and we're opening up another cafe, it's kind of like, why did we wait for that?
Yeah, because like let's just really quick discuss what is the alternative if it's not a game they announce. What what do
And they
you
already
announce in that
announced the
last
concert,
slot?
so that isn't the fall event thing, is it? They're not counting that as the fall event.
Sorry, are you talking about the concert?
Yeah, that's like not the
Well, the
event,
thing
is
is,
it?
it's like a slot. So you know how all their slots of like, when they did those little Persona live stream things where it'd be like Teddy and
Yeah.
it's one of those, right? Like that's basically how they
Hmm.
mark each of these, or at least on their website they have marked like, in September we announced this, and then in December we announced this, and then April we announced this, and blah 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 blah. So from what I understand, it's supposed to be some type of announcement, whether it's a press release or a video or whatever the case. I assume we're going to get one more like Teddy Morgana style video where they go over some final bit of news. Now, it could be as simple, I guess, in my mind, as them just saying, thanks for celebrating the 25th anniversary with us. We look forward to the future of Persona, blah, 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 blah. And make sure to, scoop up whatever leftover merchandise there is and check out the concert. Like, maybe it's just like a recap and reminding
It could
you.
be, but I don't know why they'd wait for a recap, but I guess that is entirely possible that they just do that.
Yeah.
I still want to say that they probably might have a game. I don't think, at this point, I don't know if it'd be like a mainline game. Like, I know people are like Persona 6, but I don't know if that's anywhere near ready. Or a remake. I don't know. Who knows? It could totally surprise us and us be completely wrong. But maybe it's like a spin-off, kind of like Strikers, but I don't know what else it would be, maybe besides an arena game, but I don't know who'd be doing that.
Yeah, because we don't really know what's going on with Arc System Works right now. Yeah, I have no idea. I don't know what to expect.
They just come out and announce. Wait! I know what they're gonna do.
Oh no. Okay.
Not really. They're gonna announce the live-action Persona show.
Oh, please. That actually would honestly, like, probably get me just as... I don't know if it obviously wouldn't get me as excited as, like, a Persona 6 got announced, but would probably get me as amped up in the moment because I would just be like, oh, no. Like, it would be so funny. I would have to cover that. There's no way I couldn't. If they announce anything remotely like that, can you imagine? With, like, the kids from Riverdale...
No. I'm just thinking of that one scene. I think it was you and me. Either that or it was me and Sharon, where we saw that live action Death Note show. And it was just the one kid, and it was a car driving by. It had the ladder, and the car stopped, and the ladder flew off the car and decapitated the guy.
Yeah.
Freaking hilarious.
I actually just recently watched that with Sharon. We were just skipping through it like a few weeks ago.
Oh, that's great. That was so funny. That's the only thing I've seen of that show, and I was like, perfect.
Yeah.
That's all I need to know about that show.
But honestly, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised with all the other properties that are getting adapted. I don't know. I just feel like this was the thing I was looking forward to. I was cool with the ports. I mean, again, I understand the excitement around them and the need for them, but it didn't really do anything for me, obviously, because I've played the games, and I don't really feel like I necessarily need them on another platform, but I understand why other people do want them.
Yeah, I understand. I think I know where you're coming from. It's kind of like, sometimes it can be hard to get excited about a game you already played and it's re-releasing and you're like, that's cool. But I understand. It's like, sometimes it's more exciting for a new thing.
Yeah. So, I mean, I want to hope. I really do. I was also batting around the idea with Blur earlier. We were talking, and I was thinking to myself about kind of Atlus and where they are from a marketing standpoint, because obviously Soul Hackers 2 released and it didn't really do that well, but it was, right around its release was the announcement of the Persona ports coming to basically everything. And so I thought to myself, okay, well, they still have until, October to discuss Persona 5 Royal and how it's coming to all these consoles. And then, as far as I know, we didn't get any real substantial updates on when P3P and P4G are releasing. So they don't even necessarily need, like, a brand new game to be marketing right now, because they still can rely, after P5R comes out, they can still rely on P4G and P3P for a while to kind of pad out the time between this and whatever Atlus's next announcement is, whether or not that's a new Persona game or it's something along the lines of Project Refantasy, which I think if anything gets announced at the Game Awards, I feel like it's more likely to be something like Project Refantasy than it is to be Persona, which honestly at this point, that's the same director, same team is working, like the old team from P Studio, don't get me wrong, is its own team, but like, you have the old director, and of course you have Soejima, the art director, and I believe that you also had what's his face who does the music. I don't know why all their names are evading me right now. But so I'm very curious about that game. So I wonder if anything, if maybe something like that will get announced anytime soon. So I have no idea. But I think, again, Atlus is just making us wait it out. I will say I appreciate that they told us not to expect any game announcements at the concert. Because can you imagine if everybody had been waiting this whole time, concert comes and goes, no announcement at all.
Yeah, I think it was a smart move to tell us.
Yeah, I'm just glad they
everyone,
at least...
don't expect it, so that way no one goes in.
I maybe wish that we knew a little bit earlier, but who knows if they even knew until recently. Maybe there was an announcement and then they pulled it, or maybe they're going to showcase it somewhere else. Again, we shouldn't completely lose hope. This is really just one thing, and it's not like it's the end of the world if we don't get a Persona announcement this year. There's always next year. There's always the year after. Because I think the concerts are only like, typically, I think they're every 2 years, aren't they?
I think so. Did we have a concert last year?
No, we had
I think
the last concert was 2019. COVID. Yeah. So, I think there was supposed to be one at some point, and then it got pushed to this year, and it was the 25th anniversary and everything. So, Wait, is this the 25th anniversary? Or was last year the 25th anniversary? I think wasn't last year.
I don't know, because I'm like all confused because like Sonic's still celebrating its 30th anniversary even though it's 31 this year.
Yeah, I've completely lost track.
Like, everything's been like delayed.
Yeah, this has been such a weird like year for Persona. It's almost like I'd have rather them just not even acknowledged the 25th anniversary, because I don't know, around every corner it was just like weird stuff. Don't get me wrong, we got some cool ports, but a lot of the other stuff, even if you live in the US, you would have to go to like Anime Expo if you wanted to, experience some of the stuff. And I think for most of us, it's either not in our budget or like we just can't, we're not close enough to experience that. So anyhow, I guess enough of me just rambling at this point. I think that's probably gonna about do it. Did you have anything else you wanted to add, Blur?
I just want to say it's just been interesting because so many companies have been having like their something anniversary and seeing how all these different companies go about it. And this is just like, not saying that anyone does it better than the other. It's just interesting to see what they consider to be like what they want to do for their anniversary.
It's a good point because I'm pretty sure it was Final Fantasy VII also had, I think it was its 25th anniversary, right? Yeah, because I think 97, 2022, I think that's right. Anyhow, they had their 25th anniversary, and it was like a 15-minute video, and they announced some cool stuff, a Crisis Core remaster, and then they showed Final Fantasy VII Part 2. And it was short, it was succinct, and it showed everything that fans wanted to see. And I'm just thinking to myself, I wish Persona just did that. Like, if I would have given this whole year away of all the merchandise and stuff, if it was just a 15-minute video that just went over some new stuff. Like, I would have so vastly preferred that.
Be a Kirby fan too, because you got a brand new 3D Kirby game that was really fun.
Then
you got a little eShop game. I mean, it was small, but it's cute. It's just Kirby. And then you get it's not a remaster, it's a remake of like one of the more popular Kirby games coming out next year. And they have like a ton of really cool, like I've seen a lot of cool merchandise for like the 30th anniversary. And like you can get it, and like, I mean, you have to order it online, but they have like a ton of cool stuff too. and I was like, oh, that's really cool. I will say what you want, Hal Hobbs really cares about Kirby. Like, in the games, they do so much for that franchise. It's
Man.
like you don't have to, it's Kirby, but they put so much care and effort into it.
And I guess we could be counting our chickens before they hatch.
Who knows?
You
Yeah, I
know.
mean, they still have a chance to do something.
Yeah. So I wouldn't
You
lose
never know.
complete hope if I.
Persona live action could be coming.
Yes, you never know. They could go the route of like Street Fighter 3 where it's like when right before Street Fighter 3 was supposed to release, um they I think it was Capcom didn't know they had like 3 games, and I can't remember what they were cuz I'm not a big Street Fighter fan, but I think it was like, original Street Fighter 3, and then I think there was like Street Fighter Alpha, and there was Street Fighter the movie, the game, which is like this weird. It was based on the movie, right? So it kind of had this like Mortal Kombat style where it's like the live action like avatars. So they had to choose which of those games was going to be the third that they released, and luckily they chose Street Fighter 3 to be Street Fighter 3, and they didn't choose Street Fighter the movie to be Street Fighter 3. So I feel like, yeah, I don't know. You never exactly know what decision they're going to make. So maybe they will make a weird decision and make a weird live action Persona, and that'll be the big thing.
I'm just trying to think of like a Netflix, like Persona where everyone's like American. Because I feel like that's exactly
what I'm terrified is going to happen
so
to the.
bad.
Well, first of all, I don't even think that Yakuza movie they announced like a year ago is actually even ever going to happen. They announced it, and then we promptly heard absolutely nothing about it because that happens to so many properties. And it got acquired by the guys who did Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark.
Oh no.
Which was like the only movie that they did.
Oh, no.
And it was fun. Like, that movie's not like terrible, but it's not like anything to write home about. It's just whatever. So, but at the same time, it's an American studio, and I'm like, oh no, they're gonna screw this up, aren't they? There's no way they're not gonna just like set it in New York or something. Just like, I don't know. Like, again, at the time, Nagoshi, the creator of Yakuza, said that they were gonna like be overseeing its production and stuff, but I think even Miyamoto was involved with the original Mario Brothers movie from the 80s, so who knows? I don't know. All right, well, I've rambled again for far too long, so yeah, that's gonna about do it. Don't give up the faith. Yep, a lot of people are gonna say copium, hopium, or whatever the heck that stupid meme phrase is. But we're gonna hang on and see what happens. If nothing happens,
like a wait and see thing at the moment. We have no idea.
Yeah. Again,
it could be something we are totally not all expecting, which could be cool, or it will be absolutely nothing that like doesn't really mean much to anything, or at least to anyone in the West.
They will officially announce that Zippo is actually the head of Atlus, and he's going to do a Zippo Direct and reveal the Akechi game. And that's how it's going to work.
Akechi game.
You heard it first here.
Akechi in hell.
Yep. Okay, guys, for real, we're going to go. Leave your thoughts down below. I'm very curious what you guys expect. I think everybody's like on a different page, so I'd love to hear what you guys think is going on. I think in the depths of my heart, I feel like it's not gonna be anything, but I'm hoping beyond all hopes that something does happen. Okay, we'll see you guys. Bye.